There are moments that don't look like turning points until later, when you realize the whole future shifted in a single sentence. It happened in Class 214, right after lunch, when the class was half awake and the rain tapped softly against the windows. The desks were arranged in neat rows. The air smelled faintly of pencil shavings and sanitizer. And at the front of the room, Ms. Lorraine Whitaker stood with a stack of essays in her hands, tapping the papers against her palm like she was preparing for a performance. "All right," she said, voice bright but sharp around the edges. "Let's talk about effort." She lifted the top essay and glanced over her glasses. Eli Turner. Eli sat near the back, shoulders slightly hunched, hoodie pulled down just enough to shadow his eyes. He wasn't a troublemaker. He wasn't loud. He was the kind of student who tried to disappear politely. He raised his hand halfway. "Yes," Ms. Whitaker said, as if his voice was already wasting time. Eli swallowed. "Is something wrong with mine?" Ms. Whitaker's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Wrong," she repeated. "No, Eli. Wrong would require structure. This is more like—" She flipped a page dramatically. A long apology to the English language. A few students laughed. It wasn't cruel laughter from all of them. Some of it was nervous, but it still landed like a shove. Eli's face warmed. His fingers tightened around his pencil. Ms. Whitaker kept going, feeding the moment. "You know what's sad?" she said, pacing slowly. "You're smart enough to do better, but you keep handing me work that feels like you didn't even try, like you expect pity points." Eli's mouth opened, then closed. He looked down at his desk as if the wood grain could rescue him. Ms. Whitaker held up the essay again. "I mean, honestly," she said, voice rising, "who writes something like this and thinks it's okay to submit? There's no polish, no confidence, no voice." Each word made the room smaller. What she didn't know was that the essay she was mocking out loud had already been quietly submitted by someone else into a global youth writing competition, and it was about to win.
Before we continue, if stories like this remind you that real talent is often quiet, tap like, share this video, and subscribe to Black Justice so more people can hear these powerful lessons and stay with us to the end of this narration. It helps the channel grow and keeps these stories alive. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. Now back to the story.
Eli's friend Maya Brooks sat 2 seats away. She stared at Ms. Whitaker, then at Eli, her eyes saying what her mouth couldn't. "Don't let her break you." Ms. Whitaker tossed Eli's essay onto his desk like it was a receipt. "Redo it," she said. "And this time, try writing like you believe your words matter." Eli nodded once. Not because he agreed, because he didn't trust his voice not to crack. The bell rang 15 minutes later, and chairs scraped the floor as students rushed out. Eli stayed seated, staring at the paper in front of him. The red pen marks looked like bruises. Maya lingered. "You okay?" she asked softly. Eli breathed out a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "I'm fine," he said. "It's whatever." But his eyes were shiny. Not from tears, yet from holding them back. Maya touched the corner of his desk. "Your essay wasn't bad." Eli's jaw tightened. "She said I have no voice." Maya leaned in. "She doesn't get to decide that." Eli didn't answer. He folded the essay carefully, too carefully, like if he creased it wrong, something inside him might crack too. That evening, Eli sat at the kitchen table in a small apartment where the wallpaper was peeling near the sink. His mom, Eli Turner, worked late shifts at a clinic and slept like the world asked too much of her. When she got home, she'd leave him sticky notes. "Love you. Eat something. Proud of you." Eli stared at the essay again. Then he opened his laptop and pulled up the email he'd been afraid to check all week. Subject line, Global Youth Writing Prize, finalist update. His heart thumped once hard. He clicked. The message loaded slowly, like it wanted to stretch out the moment. And then he saw it. "Congratulations. Your essay has been selected as one of 3 global winners." Eli froze. He read it again. Then again. His hands started shaking. Not because he didn't believe it, because he did, and it felt too big for his quiet life. Too bright to hold. Maya had submitted his essay, without telling him, Weeks ago, when she'd seen him writing during lunch, when he'd said it was just something. She believed his words mattered before he did. The next morning, the announcement hit the school like thunder. The principal, Mr. Collins, sent a message to every classroom. A school-wide assembly at 10 a.m. mandatory. By 9:55, whispers were sliding through the halls. Somebody won something huge. No, like global. It's a student from here. Ms. Whitaker stood in front of her class, arms crossed, trying to look unimpressed. Whatever this is, she said, we will maintain order. Eli walked in quietly, backpack slung over one shoulder. Maya caught his eye and smiled like she was holding a secret sunrise. Ms. Whitaker looked at Eli's face for half a second longer than usual. Not because she noticed confidence, because she noticed something different, a steadiness, a calm that wasn't asking permission anymore. The gym was packed. Students filled the bleachers. Teachers stood near the walls, smiling politely like they'd practiced in mirrors. The principal stepped up to the microphone. "Good morning," he said, voice echoing. "Today, we're celebrating something extraordinary." He paused for effect. "One of our students has won the Global Youth Writing Prize." The gym erupted, cheers and surprised laughter. Eli's stomach tightened. "And not just as a finalist," the principal added, "as a global winner." More noise, more shock. Ms. Whitaker's face turned toward the principal like her neck had been pulled by a string. The principal continued. The winning essay was titled, he looked down at his card, "The Quiet Places Where Courage Lives." Ms. Whitaker's eyes narrowed slightly. Eli's essay. He didn't raise his voice. He raised the truth by simply standing when his name was called. "Eli Turner," the principal said, smiling, "please come forward." For a second, Eli stayed still, like his body didn't recognize permission when it arrived as applause. Then Maya nudged his arm. "Go," she whispered. "That's yours." Eli stood. The gym seemed to tilt. The noise washed over him like ocean sound. He walked down the aisle slowly, and as he passed Ms. Whitaker, she stared at him as if he'd become a stranger overnight. Up front, the principal shook his hand. "We are proud of you," he said into the microphone. Eli's essay was selected from thousands of entries worldwide. Judges praised his voice, his clarity, and his emotional honesty. Voice. The word hung in the air like it was meant to be heard by someone specific. Ms. Whitaker's hands tightened at her sides. The principal glanced toward the teachers. "And I want to thank the educators who support our students' growth." In fact, he held up a printed copy of the essay. "I believe Ms. Whitaker teaches Eli's English class." The spotlight moved. Ms. Whitaker blinked, startled, then offered a stiff smile as the crowd looked her way. "Ms. Whitaker," the principal said gently, "would you like to say a few words about your student?" The room held its breath. Ms. Whitaker stepped forward, walking carefully like the floor was suddenly fragile. She took the microphone. "Yes," she said, voice slightly thinner than usual. "Eli is clearly talented." The words sounded like they had to squeeze past her pride to escape. Eli stood beside her, hands clasped, face calm. She glanced at him quickly, then back at the crowd. "And this shows what can happen when students apply themselves," she continued. "When they—" Eli didn't interrupt. He didn't need to. The truth was already louder than her revision. The principal, sensing the tension, gave Eli the microphone. "Eli," he said kindly, "would you like to share anything?" Eli stared out at the gym. Hundreds of faces, some supportive, some curious, some embarrassed on someone else's behalf. He spoke slowly. "When people look at me," he began, "they see quiet. They think quiet means empty, like there's nothing happening." The gym quieted. "But quiet is where I do my work," Eli said. "Quiet is where I survive. Quiet is where I write the things I don't know how to say out loud." Ms. Whitaker's face held still, like she couldn't decide whether to feel proud or exposed. Eli continued, voice steady. "And I just want to say, if you're the kind of person who feels small in a room full of louder people, your voice still counts, even if someone laughs before they understand it." A few students nodded. Someone clapped once, then more followed. Eli handed the mic back. He didn't smile widely. He didn't soak in praise like a victory lap. He just stood whole. After the assembly, Ms. Whitaker caught up to him in the hallway. "Eli," she called, trying to sound normal. He turned. She hesitated. The hallway buzzed around them. Teachers passing. Students whispering. I didn't realize," she said finally. Eli waited. Ms. Whitaker cleared her throat. "Your essay yesterday I shouldn't have." She struggled with the words, not because she lacked vocabulary, because apology requires humility, and humility doesn't come easy to people who are used to control. "I'm sorry," she said quieter. "I embarrassed you." Eli looked at her calm. "Thank you," he replied. "That means something." She nodded, eyes flicking away. "And congratulations," she added quickly, as if stepping away from the heat. Eli didn't gloat. He didn't punish her with silence. He simply said, "I hope you don't do that to someone else." Then he walked away. Later that night, Maya texted him, "You okay now, award winner?" Eli replied, still quiet, just louder on the inside. And in the weeks that followed, the school didn't just remember the award. They remembered the lesson, because talent isn't always flashy, courage isn't always loud, and dignity doesn't beg for permission. Respect costs nothing, but means everything.
If this story touched your heart, or you believe that every student deserves respect before they prove themselves, take a moment to subscribe. Your support helps us share more Black justice stories that inspire change, spark awareness, and remind the world what dignity truly looks like. Share and leave a comment. Your voice helps bring these stories to life and keeps the message alive. Your voice matters here,